Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Allison if you're new here, and today we are starting a kitchen makeover process. If you're not up to date on my channel, we bought a house built in the 1960s and everything is original to the 60s in the house. Now this little corner project started off kind of like the book If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. We really wanted to add some privacy to our kitchen because we realized that our neighbors who are downhill behind us can see straight into our house when it gets dark outside. So I was starting to look at some blinds to install here, and then I was thinking, well, if I'm installing blinds, I might as well paint the window frames and windowsills and clean up the windows. And then I was thinking, well, if I'm painting the windowsills, I might as well paint the walls. And if I'm painting these walls, I'm gonna have to remove all of this wallpaper. So that was my thought process in this whole thing. The whole point of this project was to just get some blinds and some privacy in the house. And I could have done a little bit of an easy way out and just skipped all these extra steps, but it's kind of nice to just do things the right way, or at least temporarily the right way. This kitchen will need to be completely gutted. Hopefully next year, if our budget allows. We want to put in new cabinets, rethink the floor plan in here a little bit. The kitchen's segmented into like two little sections. There's this corner nook with this bigger window and this like open shelving and pantry. And if you remember, our pantry had actual mice in it, so we took care of that, but I'm still just too grossed out to put our food back in there, so this open shelving is now our pantry. But long story short, we're doing a little mini kitchen makeover on this half of the kitchen. The other half is where a lot of the cabinets are and the appliances, but this is still like part of the kitchen. Now, the first thing I needed to tackle to get started on this project was removing wallpaper. I was super excited to do this because I've never done it before, and I didn't realize how annoying removing wallpaper actually was. So I did a little bit of research on the process, and the first step that I did was buying this little scoring tool at Home Depot, and you just kind of like poke holes basically in your wall. You just rub it around in a circle, and it allows this gel that you apply next to like penetrate in and get under to the glue easier. So I did that first, sprayed it down with this gel, and then went in with all of the hope and dreams and optimism that anybody who's never removed wallpaper before could have with my little scraper, and got to work. This fruit border at the top was a separate layer of wallpaper, so that came off pretty easily, and then the rest of the wall was another patterned wallpaper, and this was a nightmare. You're going to see me struggle here for a while, and I hope to share lots of tips and tricks about removing wallpaper to make sure you guys do not do what I did, which, as you guys can tell from how slowly this wallpaper is coming off for me, there was a steep learning curve that I got much better at as time went on with this project.
Everything's the same. I tried to build my walls up, but you're taking them down. It's tearing me apart. I can't pretend. Now I have to get over you again.
Now, I took a little break to do some research and figured out a much better method to start working with, and that is kind of separating the two layers of wallpaper. Now, this top layer is a more durable, like it's the patterned layer, it's much more durable, easier to wipe down and clean, and then you can kind of peel that off just by hand almost. I don't know if my gel spray or the little perforator scorer I used worked, but this stuff peeled off pretty easily, just kind of in big chunks, pulling it by hand, and then you're left behind with the second layer of the wallpaper, which is the more like adhesive part. That's the part that actually sticks it to the wall. That's the part that takes much longer to take off, but I will say that like once I figured out the trick of like separating the wallpaper into two panels, it went a lot faster because I kind of focused on the first layer of getting all of the big pieces off, and then I was going to go back and start figuring out how to get that second layer, the adhesive papery side, off next.
Now I have to get over you again. Have to get over you again.
Now, the best advice I found about removing the second layer of the wallpaper is to just have it absolutely soaking wet. I don't even think you need to really buy the wallpaper removal adhesive remover bottle of gel, whatever stuff I link below. I used it, so I can't say it didn't do nothing, but honestly the best thing that happened for this project is when I just started completely saturating this wall, like get it soaking wet, dripping wet, as wet as possible. I ended up just refilling this little bottle with tap water, and that was the quickest, easiest method for getting all of this off the wall. It also took me quite a few nights to get this project done. I'm working after my daughter goes to sleep most of the time because there's no way a toddler would not want to start picking up all of these little pieces of paper on the ground. So I'm working at night, multiple nights, 2-week-long process. It's a whole thing. So you'll definitely see lots of outfit changes in this video, but I'm gonna wrap up peeling all of this wallpaper off. Christian's also gonna hop in and take care of the landline box here. I don't know what he's doing, so I can't really comment on what he's doing. I just kind of asked him like, hey, could you clean this up? I want to patch this hole because we don't use a landline anymore. And he said, sure. And I'm pretty sure most of what's happening here is not up to code, but don't tell anybody. And we promise that we will do it all the right way when we actually gut this kitchen and rewire everything in this house next year. But he's going to clean this up so I can patch that later. And then I'm going to finish the wallpaper removal.
I wanna see it now. Our bags and get in that car. Leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get out, we can leave this city. Let's drive to the open air.
Now, taking off this wallpaper, we learned quite a few things about this house. One, this is not the original wallpaper. There was a floral patterned wallpaper all over this wall before, and then that had been removed, and in that removal process, they absolutely gouged these walls. So this sheetrock is really beat up. There's a lot of torn drywall, which is not good for just painting on top of. So we're gonna actually have to do what's called a skim coat, basically putting drywall mud over this entire wall to kind of give it a fresh start. And before we can do that skim coat with the joint compound, like that whole thing, I read online from a couple YouTube videos and articles and whatnot that you definitely need to use this product called Guards. It's very, very thin, but you should paint this over every part of the wall that has the exposed drywall. Drywall is basically 2 pieces of paper with dust in between, and so when that paper gets torn, that dust is exposed. It is not a good place for you to try to plaster something or drywall mud it, or to do a skim coat, or to just paint over it. So I'm gonna do this first. It basically seals in like a glue and locks off all of that exposed drywall, the torn drywall. That's the verbiage for this. I learned a lot of things about drywall during this process. So I'm doing a really light coat. I'm not super careful with this because you'll see we're about to cover this whole wall in joint compound, but I definitely wanted to make sure the walls were primed and prepped so that I didn't do all of this work just to have it look terrible because the wall beneath it was so beat up. Technically, I should patch this hole where the landline was with a piece of scrap drywall, but I don't have any scrap drywall, so at Home Depot I grabbed this mesh drywall patch. They have it in all different sizes, kind of pricey for what it is, but it actually worked really great. You'll see in the end that you can't even tell there used to be something there. And then now we're getting to the fun, scary part of this process, which is mixing up our joint compound and getting ready to do a full skim coat. Do not watch this YouTube video right now as an introduction or a how-to for how to like actually do this. They are great creators that actually are like professional drywallers, like they do this for a living. This is all they do, and they have great tips. So go watch those videos. I'll link all of the products that I use just to do a basic wall. But the long story short is you want to water down joint compound. So you do that with a big mixer, and then you scoop it into your mudding pan and you lay it on the wall and smooth it out. The trick of this is to get it as smooth as possible, but that is very, very difficult to do. I am not a professional drywall mudder. I was awful at this. It was a very frustrating and time-consuming process. I don't recommend following my video right now for a how-to on this. Definitely go check out some other content and get some better tips, but I'm actually kind of impressed with myself at the end of the day. Everyone talks about mudding being like the worst thing to do yourself. Like it's so hard, like just hire somebody to do it. And I definitely did not do a great job, but I feel much more confident in my ability to like learn a new skill on the fly. And I will say that by the end of this wall, I was so much better than at the beginning.
They don't need to know we're out here wild and free. They say we're crazy, it's too much. And yeah, we're crazy, deep in love. Oh, oh.
I'm going to give a little extra attention to where I patched the hole in the wall. I'm going to sand that down and then apply a little bit more joint compound. I'm also going to go around and scrape off any big chunks that have dried and are sticking out. It's kind of easy to work with once it's dried, and I could have done a full second coat of the skim coating. That's what the first layer was called. I could have totally done another layer of that to fix my imperfections, but I kind of was not up to the challenge of that. I knew it would be difficult and hard, so what I did instead was just grabbed another smaller thing of joint compound. You always want to work with a fresh little tub of it, and I went around to all of the areas that were really bad. Mostly I had struggled with areas where like my paddle or my knife had like dug in to the joint compound, so there's kind of like a little bit of like a dig mark. So going in with just a little bit more joint compound filled in those spots. And then the next step of this process is to sand the entire wall. Now, a couple people online swore you could sand this wall with a damp sponge. I tried it. I was extremely unsuccessful with it, so I moved on to just a normal sanding block. I also grabbed my respirator because this is a very dusty process. I only sanded a very small wall, and the whole house was just covered in dust. So took care of that, and that left the wall feeling very smooth, not perfect by any means, but a lot better than it was before. Another night of working in this kitchen, and we are finally getting to the fun part. We're going to begin painting. Now, with a skim coat over the whole wall, you definitely have to do a primer over that, and then the inside of these shelves was wallpapered, and I was not going to start that whole process over again. So I'm just going to go in with the primer straight on top of that also. Don't judge me too harshly for not having a roller that fits my paint roller here. We're going to just work with it and make it work. And then I'm going to mix up my big can of Kiehl's primer. I love this stuff. I used it when I painted our fireplace and it worked great. So I'm going to use it on our skim coating in the back of these open shelves.
I can hear my calling. There's no one else here that I see but you. It's what you're doing that's making me feel like I'm falling. Yeah, I'm falling in love. Yeah, I'm falling in love.
And if you remember, the entire point of this project was to get some blinds put on these windows, so I wanted to paint the window frames. And we have these like marble or stone windowsills for every single window in our house, and I hate them. We're needing to replace all of the windows in this house. They are one more thing that's original to the 60s, and we are sure they are terrible for insulation and heating and cooling and all of that energy efficiency stuff. So I'm just going in with whatever paint I'm using on any project and just painting it. There's some of them that I've just painted straight on with interior like wall paint, and they've held up just fine, but these I already had the primer out, so I thought might as well prime these. We also have this awkward half wall in the kitchen that is covered with about 6 million little nails and pieces of tape and random things, so I'm going to clean all of that up, patch it with some spackle, and that's also going to be getting the paint treatment. Now I'm going in with my favorite paint. I'm using it all over this house right now. Don't worry, we will add some color and personality to this house later once we get through the renovations, and right now everything's just getting a fresh, clean, blank slate, and that blank slate for me is the color Swiss Coffee by Behr Paint. I'm using a flat finish on all of the walls here, and then I'm going to go in on all of the trim, the window trim, and that whole pantry in an eggshell finish. It's a little bit easier to wipe clean and helps give it a little bit of a nicer look because there's a slight distinction you can see between the color finishes.
For the first time, you know we should work it out. You know we should work it out. Before I'm too invested, I should probably ask you all my questions, get to know you better. Like, can you be trusted? Will you take me for granted? And will you knock me down?
The fresh white paint in this half of the kitchen, the window above the sink, looks a little bit out of place. You can see that we have some interesting backsplash in here. The counters could be painted, or the cabinets could be painted, but there's just too much to tackle at this point in the kitchen for me to take on this project. So I'm gonna stick with just my little window project, add some privacy. Maybe when I'm not about to give birth to my second child and have a newborn and all of that, we'll get around to the kitchen. But also, hopefully at that point in time, we'll be ready to just demo all of this out anyway. So for all of you screaming for me to just paint the kitchen cabinets, I just don't have the energy for it right now. I'm due with a baby very soon, and hopefully by the time that kind of energy comes back to me, it'll be time to just tear it all out anyway.
Before I'm too invested, I should probably ask you all my questions, get to know you better. Like, can you be trusted? Will you take me for granted? Will you let me down? Before I'm too invested, you should take it easy. Maybe we could test this and work out our feelings.
I know this project seems like it's been going on forever. Trust me, for me, it felt 10 times as long, because I'm not joking when it literally took 2 weeks just to do this tiny little corner of our house. But that's just how life works when you're trying to work around a toddler. It's just hard to do this kind of work with her awake, and so I always wait for her to sleep. She doesn't nap super long, and so it's always after bedtime, and it just adds up over time. So at this point, it's probably like 9 or 10 at night. Christian is trying to watch Breaking Bad with me. We just started that show. I think he's seen it before, but I haven't. It's been so good. But we're just doing some painting while we watch that. And then the next day, with most of the paint dry, I got Christian out here with these blinds. I was totally sold by an Instagram reel. These blinds are no drill, so you can just install them without like damaging your window frames at all. Christian figured them out, installed them. He needed a little bit of help from me to tighten them in place, but we absolutely love them. They look super nice. I think they look a little bit bougie, and they definitely add the privacy. They're really easy to just pull up and down, and they definitely elevate the space and add a little bit of warmth back to this corner. It was very white.
We washed away like lines in the sand. Some people that put their faith in
Because this corner was already kind of junky looking with the wallpaper and all of that stuff, I hadn't taken great care of it. I really focused on decluttering it and keeping it minimal and functional and organized. And so that's what we're doing now. Now that we have a pretty space to work with, I'm happy to actually care for this space and make sure that I keep up with it and not just let it fall to shambles. So I'm gonna be moving around this white table. We're gonna move some of our appliances off of this table. We're also gonna make this pantry situation a lot neater and more organized, and we're gonna get around eventually to mounting the Dyson on the wall. I know that it's not the most attractive place to keep our vacuum, but it is actually the only spot in the house that is functional for it, and I was tired of having it just leaning up against the wall. The charger mounts to the wall, and I loved that in our last house, and so that's definitely on my list of things that will make this space better for me. But overall, just decluttering it after we did this whole little makeover made this space so much nicer for us.
I don't know what will happen to me. Will I be remembered in this century? Or will I be forgotten like dust in the wind? Or the talk of the town that we are living in.
I was previously using see-through bins. It's easy to see what you have in the pantry, and it's maybe a little more functional to have clear bins to seal your food and not let things go to waste. But I really wanted to keep this space looking as tidy as possible, and so I switched over to these baskets I had down in our basement and sprinkled throughout our house. They are from Target, and I am very sad to report that they don't sell them anymore. I would have bought a couple of more just for this pantry right here because they fit so perfectly and looked so nice, and I have an odd number. A sixth basket would have been perfect for this wall, but oh well, we're gonna live with the 5 we have. We spent $0 on the organization for this project, which is also a nice little plus, but I think having these baskets, because our pantry is open shelving, really help minimize the chaos and the cluttered look of this corner.
Not sure who I really am, just be cute and super bland. I try to hold it together, keep it together, been playing it down, but I'm so getting tired. Now won't you meet?
And with the slightly ugly vacuum hanging off the wall now, I will say it's super functional. But with that done, we are done with this corner of the kitchen. We accomplished the one goal, which was to add some privacy in here, which we have been very much enjoying, and then also just having a fresh, clean space in this house. I hope you guys enjoyed this makeover. It was a long one, but it was a good one, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!